Now, hold on now, players. Welcome to 24 Days of Reviews. Sorry about that. I'll explain that joke in a sec. But welcome to 24 Days of Reviews. I'm your host, Mike, the real United States champion, and today we are going to be taking a look at Jonathan Coachman, and a bit of a funny story with this guy, as you just heard. I cut a strange promo there. And the reason for that is because when I was a kid, that was basically how I used Coach. I basically made him the goofiest guy on my roster, cutting some of the worst promos you could ever hear. I mean, they were kind of funny to me, though. And it's always just been one of my own inside jokes that I've had, is that Coach is one of the biggest jokes ever. And he would always say, "Now, hold on now, player." And he would always end his promos with, "Baby!" So, that's my story with Jonathan Coachman. And I would like to take a closer look at this guy, because again, this guy has some nostalgia. Just the ridiculous promos I used to cut with him as a kid. So, let's get a closer look at him. And I'm going to relive the madness that was Jonathan Coachman for my Fig Fed. So let's get right into the articulation here. So he moves at the head, and he moves up and down. He moves at the arms outwards and upwards. He moves at the bicep, elbow, swivel the wrist, hand movement, waist movement. You have the knee joint, and then at the knee, and then at the ankle. So there you go. Standard Jack's articulation for those not familiar. All right, let's get a closer look at Jonathan Coachman. First thing I noticed, this is back when he had at least a little bit of hair on his head. Not so much anymore, but this is a good way to commemorate that, when he had hair. And I do see Coach in there has that kind of smirkish, that smug look that Coach always used to have. So, it's represented there well. He's got the stash there as well. Not necessarily the full... Actually, no, that's a lie. He does kind of have a goatee. It's just pretty faint as it gets down to his chin. His attire is very basic. I can see this guy actually being a shelf warmer at that time, and I wouldn't be surprised about that. So, as you can see, his shirt simply just says, "The Coach," in Times New Roman handwriting. About as generic as you can get. Jax just didn't care sometimes, I feel. But yeah, pretty basic attire. He's got basketball shorts with white stripes going down them. He originally had black knee pads, but I gave him white knee pads so he can stand out at least a little bit more. And then just normal black shoes, pretty similar to what John Cena would sport with his Jax figures. And then this is the infamous mic that I gave him in my Fig Fed. This actually ended up being chewed by a dog. And because he was the worst guy on my roster, I figured I'd give him the worst microphone on the roster. So that was always kind of his own unique microphone. And that's all I have to say about this figure. Really not much to say about this guy. Yeah, pretty boring figure. But this is the only Coach, to my knowledge, that is actually in wrestling gear. I think there's another one out there, but to my knowledge, this is basically the closest that we have to an actual wrestling attire for the Coach. I kind of wish they did a little more with this guy. Like, Coach always had, like, whenever he was wearing attires, I feel like he was always wearing something that was more geared towards how great he was. Like, I think he had, for the Royal Rumble in 2005, his face on the back of his pants, like, right on his butt. Like, that kind of thing would have been hilarious on this figure. And I feel like they just kind of slapped something together and called it a Coach figure. But still, it's something that I've added to my collection, and it does have nostalgia because it's been a part of my Fig Fed. So, there you go. So thank you all for watching this review. This has been day number 9, and I will see you at day number 10. Baby!